welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Zee. So alternatively you can call me Z or even Sunshine, or you can put them together and call me Sunshine Zee. Shout out to my subscribers, I truly appreciate you, and welcome back to yet another video. To those who are seeing this for the first time, you are welcome. I do hope you will find my videos relevant and informative. I'd like to wish you a happy new month. We are in the month of August, and in South Africa it is actually known as Women's Month, as we will be celebrating Women's Day on the 9th of August. My hope is that as women we would rise up and take up space, and that we would find opportunities even after everything that has happened. It's not the end. There's still opportunities to be found, and I am just really a big fan of women. I believe in women, and I do hope that you will enjoy this special month. Not just enjoy it, but try find ways to make a difference, whether it be to yourself or the community around you. And well done to all of those who are rebuilding. It's really just amazing to see South Africans pull together and try to rebuild. We can only hope for the best from here onwards. So let's get into today's video. Today we'll be talking about fraud awareness. I hope to do videos this month raising awareness on various topics, and my first topic is fraud. And the reason for that is that it's one of those things that you would think people know about, but actually a lot of people are not aware, and a lot of people fall victim. So I thought, let me just make a video about it. I did work in the fraud industry for a number of years, so I'm no expert, but I do know a thing or two about it. I'd like us to actually start with the very definition of what fraud is. And according to Google, fraud is a wrongful or criminal deception intended to result in financial or personal gain. So the reason people scam you, the reason people defraud you, is for personal or financial gain, as simple as that. When you end up in a situation where you have lost something of significance, especially something monetary, then you have been a victim of fraud. Please note that fraud is a very broad topic, and I will not be going into all the various types and kinds of frauds. I will just be touching on a few, actually two mainly, and these are sort of like the two, I think, most common types of fraud that I will be talking about today. So the first one is called identity fraud, and that is simply, as the name suggests, somebody stealing your identity. So somebody representing themselves as though they were you. Now this is the most common type of fraud, and it still amazes me how many people still fall victim to this fraud, and I think it's because of a lot of various reasons, and I'll be going into those today. So as mentioned, this is a scam where people get access to your ID number, passport number, social security number, or whatever it is that is used in your country as an identifier. And once they have access to that, they go and open accounts and do all sorts of things that, as mentioned, is financially gainful to them. Unfortunately, it will cost you something, and in most cases people will have to pay for those crimes, but not in all cases. It depends on how that is handled. Now, how this happens normally is that people gain access to your information through the internet. Now, don't be scared. It's not as though the internet is like a horrible place. However, you do need to be vigilant, and that is my main tip, is that be very vigilant when you're using various websites. Make sure that those are secure websites. If you can actually get, nowadays you can get like a a private VPN of some sort, and that helps you to remain a lot more secure. Do your research on that, but that's the one of the ways that I think that you can try and keep yourself safe. Another way is that people gain access to your information through your documents. So another tip is to try and keep all important documents very safe. So your letters and any document that has all your information. So it's very easy for somebody to gain access to your name, surname, and address just by maybe stealing your mail or even getting your mail from your trash. So be careful when you do discard of such documents. I would recommend that you actually burn any documents if possible, or just maybe cut them up in such a way that no one can be able to piece them together. If you have a shredder, I don't know anyone who has a shredder, but if you have a shredder, you can shred all those documents. But do not just throw away your letters as they are. You are now giving somebody your information just like that. So what they will do once they have that information, so as I said, they might have your name, surname, and identifier. They will then portray themselves to be you. So they will go and open up a credit account of some sort, and therefore benefit from that. And it's not easy to know whether it's you or not. So in defense of the companies, especially stores and telecoms companies and just banks, well, banks are a little bit more secure, but even somebody could still get a loan in your name. And the reason is because they don't know who you are. So if somebody came with your name and your surname and that identifier, there is no way for that store to know that that is not you, because what they normally do, what I've seen in a lot of cases, is that they will have an ID card. The only thing that they'll replace is their face. So when the store person or whoever it is that is granting the credit is looking at that face, it's the face that's standing right in front of them. Obviously, if they're doing it online, it's even a lot easier. So it's something that a lot of people fall victim to. And people don't even realize that it has happened. Most people don't know that they've been victims of identity fraud, and only find out when they are, blacklisted or their credit is messed up in some way. Some people I've actually seen find out when they're trying to apply for a home loan, also known as a mortgage, and they realize there's an account that I'm not aware of. And sometimes you'd find that this is years later that this has happened. A tip that I would have for you if you're South African is that you check with the credit bureaus to make sure that your identity has not been stolen. So we're talking about the popular ones, TransUnion and Experian, I believe is the other one. Yes, so just check with them, make sure that your identity still belongs to you. And a very simple thing that you can also do is make sure that you thoroughly go through your bank statement. What I've noticed, and this happened also quite a lot, is people would be paying off an account that wasn't even, well, it was theirs in the essence that it was opened in their name, but they didn't have any clue which account this was. Now you cannot be that negligent. I think it's your responsibility to make sure that you don't have any debit orders going off of your account without your knowledge. I'm not even talking about debit orders that are unauthorized. I'm talking about actual debit orders that people are paying off for months. I've seen people pay it for 2 years, and yet you do not have an account with this provider. However, you've been paying and you don't even scrutinize these documents until 2 years later. So I really think that, no one will protect you. It is up to you to protect yourself. Now you might be wondering, what will I do if this happens to me? Or what do I do if this has already happened to me? And the first thing that you're going to have to do is go to the police station and open a case. Now, I know what you might be thinking, especially if you're South African. How's that going to help me? Unfortunately, you do need a case number in order for that fraud case to be resolved. In most institutions, they will require that you have a case number. So the case number, unfortunately, it's very unfortunate. The case number is not so that the police can go and investigate these cases, because they do not. That's just the reality of it. Hopefully one day they do. And this is in South Africa. South Africans watching this know this. South African police are not going to investigate it. You're doing it simply so that you can have a case number to prove that you did report an incident of identity theft. Now, before you leave the police station, because sometimes police don't know what it is that needs to happen, so you need to leave with a case number. You need to leave with an affidavit, which is a written statement that says that it is not you who opened this account, or that just states that somebody has gained access to your information and is using it for fraudulent purposes. And on that document, please try and have your signature. I would recommend about 3 to 5 versions of your signature. What that will help with is that when the institution or the stores or whoever is investigating that case, it would be helpful for them to see, because if the person did sign, it's highly unlikely, unless it's somebody close to you, but it's highly unlikely that they will have your exact same signature. In fact, what I've seen is that they normally just write the initials and the surname. So you providing a sample of your signature will help with the investigation. One last thing about identity theft is that there is a way for you to protect yourself, and I will include all the links to this information. This information is very easily accessible. So as I always say, Google is your friend. How you can prevent your identity from being stolen in future, and even if it has been stolen in the past, I would recommend that you contact the South African Fraud Prevention Services. I will include their contact details as well. Please do share this kind of information with others. You might never know who you are helping. So as mentioned, please make sure that you do not share your information. Do not throw away any papers or documents that has your information. Be vigilant, scrutinize your bank statements, ensure that you know what accounts you have and what accounts you don't have. I would also recommend that if you have been a victim, I'm terribly sorry, but I would recommend that you take up any cases that are unresolved with the credit ombudsman. The second most common type of fraud that I'll be mentioning today is called social engineering, and this happens in various ways. I'll only be touching on 2 ways that it happens. And the first one is called phishing. Now, this is a social engineering type of fraud that has been around for a very, very long time. A lot of people know about this type of fraud, and I hope that we are all aware. However, there might be 1 or 2 people that are not aware of this, especially in developing countries where people are just getting access to emails and the internet. So phishing is actually how people gain access to your information. So we spoke about identity theft, and one of the ways that people gain access to your information is through phishing. And what they do, especially in classic phishing cases, what they would do is that they would send you some sort of a message, an email, a text message that says that they are contacting you. They will portray themselves to be people that are contacting you out of the goodness of their hearts, so that you can access money from a long lost relative or an uncle in England that you don't know about, even though you don't have any relatives in England. But it's just ridiculous stories like that. Now, the social part, and I want to actually go into the social element of this. Now you might be watching me and thinking, oh my word, come on, who falls for these things? The fact that this still goes on means that there's still people who are falling victims to these kinds of scams. And one thing that I want you to be aware of is the social element of these kinds of scams. So when somebody sends somebody else an email, somebody who's in need of money, and they tell them that, listen, you've won this competition. Unfortunately, for somebody who's really desperate, they might think, well, maybe I did win a competition. Maybe I did enter a competition a few months ago. And out of desperation, these people actually think that these things are legit, and that's how they end up falling victim. So don't judge people when they actually fall victim to this. It's very easy to email back or to text back or to click on a link because you're thinking, sometimes it's your curiosity that makes you click on a link to say, well, let me hear what this person has to say, or well, perhaps I did win this competition. And that's how you fall victim to these types of scams. Now, the second type of way that people gain access to your information is also through social media. So it's one of those things that I really would caution for you not to add addresses, especially if it's your own home address where you live, because people have their full names and surnames. And another thing that I've seen people do a lot is people actually taking pictures. You know, they're excited, I opened a bank account, and they share a picture of the actual card or something like that. Let's be cautious in what we share, especially when that thing has important information such as our names, surnames, addresses, and going live and you're showing people where it is that you live, which complex you live at. You are making it very easy for people to access your information through what we call social engineering. My one tip about phishing is that you can avoid phishing, and that is by asking yourself, is it too good to be true? If it is, it likely is not true. Another growing trend of social engineering is where people call you and tell you that you've been a victim of fraud. So these people are quite smart. They are aware that a lot of people are aware that there's fraud happening. You probably know somebody who's been a victim of fraud. So what they do is that they will call you and tell you and claim to be from an institution, whether it be from a bank or a chain store or telecoms company, and they will be offering to assist you. One of the things to note about these kinds of calls is that the person on the other end of the line will actually be speaking as fast as they possibly can. And they do this so that you don't process quickly enough to realize that these people are scamming you. Sometimes you don't even hear where they say it is they're calling from. So they normally very quick to say, this is who's calling and you are a victim of fraud and we are trying to assist you. And within the first few seconds, they will be asking you for your details. Now, that is a clear sign that you are being scammed by these people who claim to be helping you as a victim of fraud. Another indicator of these kinds of calls is that they would be claiming to be calling from a particular place. Now, as mentioned, Google is your friend. While you're on this call, try and Google that company name and see where they are. And ask this person, where are you calling me from? And that's how you start catching them out. By directing questions to them, you quickly start to unravel the story. And what you'll find in most cases is that they will quickly hang up. So do not entertain anyone calling you claiming to be from a certain institution. Do not allow anyone to pressure you to give information during a call. In fact, if you feel pressured and you're not sure, you are unsure of what this person is saying, you would rather say, listen, call me back in about 10 minutes time. And in that 10 minutes, you can sit back and ask yourself questions about Did it sound like it was coming from that institution? Make sure that you are always calm whenever it is that you are taking a call and it's from somebody you don't know and they're claiming certain things, especially if they're claiming to help you. Ask yourself, why would they want to help you? What would they gain from helping you? Because realistically speaking, these institutions will hardly ever contact you. Even if you were a victim of fraud, they would rather email you, they would rather send you SMSs, or before the transaction goes through, they will ask you, please ensure that you are authorizing this transaction. So it's highly unlikely that they would be calling you and asking you for your information. Once again, the message here is be vigilant. Do not do anything that does not feel right. Another popular way of social engineering is people actually accessing one of your friends' numbers through WhatsApp. I think it's a popular one. I don't know if they use any other platforms, but what they do is that they contact you with your friend's number, saying, listen, I need 2,000 rands. Can you please e-wallet it to me? Can you please cash send me 1,000 rands? This is a really urgent matter. And because you see that it's your friend, it's your colleague, it's somebody that you know, and the story that they write there, sometimes actually what I've seen is that they will pretend to be your teenage child. So I don't know how they get access to this information. I do suspect that they get it from social media, because they will know that you have a teenager in the house. How do they know that? It's through your social media. So they will be pretending, you know, sometimes they don't even use the actual number. So sometimes it's somebody that says, hi, my name is John and I am a friend of your son Paul's, and we are stuck at the mall and we need 500 rands. And you know, it's stories like that they are trying to sell to you. And once again, there's a lot of pressure for you to send the money. They will not be answering any questions from you. All they want is you sending them the money. So the minute that happens, you would rather take the phone, even if it's in the middle of the night or early in the morning, whatever the case might be, take the phone, call the actual person to confirm if this is a true story. It's just amazing how many people have fallen victim for this scam. And unfortunately, unlike with identity theft, where you can prove that it is not you who opened the account, where you maybe can even get the money back in some cases. In this case, if you lose your money by having voluntarily sent it to somebody else, it's highly unlikely that you will be able to recover that money. And even if you go to the police station and even if you try and track these people, it's really not worth it, and it probably won't amount to anything be done about that. Another trend of scams is where people have been scammed by individuals who claim to be a public figure. Now, this is one that I find rather odd, because why would a public figure inbox you or DM you to ask you to invest into their company? And I think it's also because people would like to think of themselves as having something to offer, which is admirable. You know, would like to think of themselves as, you know, I'm a business person, and perhaps this is why this public figure has reached out to me, because they will normally claim things such as, I've looked through your profile, I've seen your profile, I'm impressed by your profile. But all of that is just to try get your guard down so that they can defraud you. And unfortunately, once again, you cannot be able to claim back the money. There are a lot of people out there who claim to be a lot of different things. They claim to want to help you, but why would you want to help me? And I think that's the first question you should ask people. Why do you want to help me? You know, what is in it for you that you would be contacting me? You know, and just be aware, as mentioned, that you're not going to be able to recover your money. So unlike when you're an actual victim of identity fraud, in cases where you send money or you invest in something that you didn't do your due diligence and research on, you're not likely to recover that money. Thank you so much for joining me once again. I do hope that this was informative. Should you have any questions, try Google. Alternatively, you can ask questions in the comment section. As mentioned, I will leave as much information as possible. This is something that I really think people need to know more and more about. And I was really happy when I went into Google, I found so much information. So I was happy that there is information out there. And if you know people who don't have access to information, because unfortunately we do still live in a country where people don't have information, share this information with them. Try and educate others about this. So you might think, well, this video wasn't relevant for me. I'm sure you know somebody that it might be relevant for. And don't just assume that everybody knows what you know. The whole point of raising awareness is not just me putting it on this platform and talking to you about it, but it's also about you carrying that information forward. That's how we raise awareness. Thank you so much for joining me for yet another video. I will see you in my next one. Until then, do take care, be vigilant, love and light to you all.